So biomechanics is to do with the maths of the body. So understanding how we can use mathematics to explain movement in sport. So how do you throw a ball? Mathematically, how do we explain that? And that's what biomechanics is. My field of research is around sport and sport performance. I want to understand why I couldn't have been or wasn't an Olympic athlete. That's my passion, and my own sport is badminton, and why couldn't I hit the shuttle as hard as the others? Because that probably stopped me being an Olympian ultimately. But then the other side of that fence is around injuries. Lots of athletes get injured, unfortunately, and there's this balance between performance and injuries. And biomechanics, and where my field is around understanding that, but also understanding what the limits of performance are for an individual, and how we might push those boundaries. It is about relationships. So what I'm really clear on is that as a biomechanist, I'm not a coach. And some biomechanists confuse that, I think, and they try and do the coaching, and that's inappropriate. What I try and do as a biomechanist is to improve understanding. It's then down to the coach to see how we can use that information to help the athlete improve. And that's a really important distinction. So there is a danger that coach thinks I'm treading on his toes. But what I'm not doing that, and what I'm trying to do is to provide an understanding of what makes a difference. What are those critical factors that contribute to performance? And then that's for the coach to then digest and understand, and then say, how could that help my athlete in front of me improve? So it's that critical dynamic between a biomechanist who provides that understanding and a coach who knows how to coach to make an athlete better. And how do you bring those two together? Because if you ask 10 coaches, how do you make this athlete in front of them improve? They may all have a different opinion. Whereas from a mathematical perspective, a biomechanical perspective, the factors that might help that athlete improve are probably common. That will be that one viewpoint. And it's then how do you put those two together to help the athlete improve? So I don't think so. I think they are quite different skill sets and roles. So I use objective science to understand what's happening in sport. Whereas a coach is trying to say, what practices can I do to encourage the right things, the athlete to do the best things? And they're quite different things. How to learn a skill and how to understand the mechanics behind it are quite different. So to me, it's important to learn and understand how elite athletes achieve the things they do. Say they're trying to throw a javelin as far as possible, for example. And that helps us then understand what's important and the mechanical principles about what matters. The most value you get from that is actually to then apply that knowledge for the younger ones, the ones coming through, the ones learning that sport. So you could argue that, although it's the elite athletes that can gain access to the very latest biomechanical information, the most important value in some respects is for the ones coming up. Biomechanics does have a role to play in helping the elite athletes get that little bit of extra on their performance, but I think the biggest value at this point in time is on helping the younger ones come through with appropriate techniques that will lead them to be those elite athletes in the future. It is because it's trying to help the athlete reach their potential. So and understand what matters. Do they need to be stronger? Do they need to change their technique, etc.? What's important? And without a biomechanist there, 10 different coaches will give that athlete 10 different opinions and just leave the athlete confused. The biomechanist can help steer the coaches towards good techniques and practices that are appropriate.